welcome in our next guest, Roberto Rodriguez from DRF in Espanol. We'll give Roberto a minute to introduce himself and talk a little bit about DRF in Espanol. But Alexa, let's just finish up with the body of the field because we didn't get a whole lot of time to talk about a horse that actually could be in the body of the field, and that's Baeza, who's right now on the outside looking in. He's an also eligible, but there's always a horse or two going into the Derby that maybe gets sick, maybe there's an injury or something in the days leading up. So if one of those horses has an issue, Baeza will be the one that takes advantage. And Baeza's been kind of like a buzzy horse. A lot of folks like what he's done because he was second to Journalism, and Journalism's going to be the favorite.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a tough go of things for Baez to get stuck on the A list. Normally he'd be in, except the Santa Anita Derby only had 5 horses in it, so the points awarded were reduced. So he had to get first and got second instead. So didn't have quite enough. But there's some rumors. We haven't heard anything official. We've heard potential scratches from Owen Almighty, which is the 20 horse, and a couple of others. So I know his connections are just hoping and praying right now that somebody drops out so he can get in. But really interesting horse. I think another reason why he's kind of buzzy is who he's out of. So his dam is Puka, and Puka gave birth to the 2023 Kentucky Derby winner Mage, and then she also gave birth to the 2024 Kentucky Derby contender, and then the Belmont Stakes winner, which is the third leg of the Triple Crown, Dornoch, who's owned by MLB star Jason Worth. So it's really exciting to see a spectacular mare emerge, and a really young mare. I think she's only had 4 foals, maybe 5. So it'd be really cool to see another one of hers be in a Derby in another consecutive year. And I can't even imagine the prices of her future foals after that.
Okay, well, we're bringing Roberto Rodriguez now from DRF in Espanol. And I got to say, Roberto, you raised the bar for yourself pretty high, my friend, when we came on here last time, because you gave us a nice winner, and we're going to look to you again to try to help us out in the Kentucky Derby. Before you give us your picks, though, tell us, for all the folks out there who might want to listen to some great racing coverage and content in Spanish, what kind of stuff do you have for us and the opportunity of listening and getting horse racing analysis and coverage with DRF in Espanol?
Thanks, Gino. Thank you. And Alexa, by the way, remember that Puka is by Big Brown, who also won the Kentucky Derby.
Yep, yeah. All those connections, right?
Yeah, it is very interesting, this mare. DRF in Espanol, we have, plenty content for the Kentucky Derby, obviously. We have already on YouTube available the 1-to-1 horse. We went one of each horses, talk about their pros, their cons. We have the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks analysis available, and the workout report. We choose the top 6 horses that we thought that they were better. So those 3 shows that are available, and also drfandespanol.com offering, daily content regarding the Kentucky Derby. We are very excited. I mean, this month we just broke the record of the most visit. So it's continued to grow. So we are very, very, very happy with that. So
yeah, it's incredible. And it gives people out there the chance to hear coverage of the races in their native language and in something that they can understand a little bit better. So Roberto, let's talk now about the Derby field as we have the field set up. Who are some of the horses that you've liked as we followed along, and how are you going to stack them with your top picks for the Derby?
Well, there is a few horses here that you can play with it. Like, for example, Final Gambit. I know this is a 20-to-1, 30-to-1 horse.
Yep.
The question mark is he just won on Turfway Park. But remember, Rich Strike finished third on that specific race, and then won the Kentucky Derby. And also, unfortunately, because what happened with Tapan Street, now Brad Cox is going to be more focused on that horse. He's the only horse by Brad Cox, which is 2 months ago, you will say Brad Cox is going to have at least 4 or 5 horses in the Derby.
Yeah.
Now it's only one, and it's a long shot. So that is the kind of horse that I'm going to be looking for the Sactas and Trifecta. My horse is definitely going to be Sovereignty. But you also have to recognize that Journalism is the best horse of the crop. That doesn't mean it doesn't, the older horses doesn't have any chances, but you have to respect that horse.
Yep.
And actually, the way that he's been working in the mornings, you can see it is different.
He carries himself a little
Yeah,
different, right?
he tells you, hey, I'm the leader of this crop, you know. And it's going to be hard to be.
Yeah.
Also, because having all the speed on the left, probably Rispoli is going to use 4 or 5 horses as a fullback. You know, if you go to NFL or football, you can see Rispoli. He can be just right behind all of them and take a very nice first turn, which is very important in the Kentucky Derby. The first turn is when, you know, a lot of races are decided. So
Berto, anyone else you want to mention? We've got Final Gambit as kind of your big price play. Journalism as no doubt the horse to beat that you're using. Who would you have underneath them?
I'm gonna have the Sovereignty as
Sovereignty, right? That's your top pick?
Sovereignty as my top pick.
Okay.
That's my top pick. And the reason why is because it's a better value. Because if you look at journalism, like 3-1 or 5-2, I'm not gonna bet a horse in that low in a 19 horse field. You has to at least guarantee me 25 cents per horse, which is gonna make like what, 5-1 probably. That's the minimum that I'm gonna take. So that's why I went to Sovereignty, which is, I think, is not the same horse that journalism is, but he has the same chances.
So
you know, it's gonna be a third of the cycle. 2 races at Gothring, that's not his track. I mean, Gothring is not a racetrack for a horse with this style.
It's a more front running track, right? The horses who are fast, way better for them versus the closers.
This horse shouldn't win the Fontana Youth, and it still won't. And remember, Manny Franco rode him the last time. Now it's go back to Junior, and I was asking Junior, "Hey, Junior, do you like the post? The post position?" Say, "No, I don't like it. I love it. It's perfect for him." So I think this is the horse that you're gonna get a better value and maybe equal chances that you can have with journalism. That's why I decided to win with the number 18. I'm gonna play journalism underneath. I'm gonna play the number 3 and also publisher. This horse I know is a maiden, but he has a great spot and he got IRAT. So
everybody's picks are on the screen right there.
In the mix. I think he's gonna be in the mix.
Roberto will go 18, 8, 3, 13. I'll hand the baton over to you. Alexa, talk us through your top picks.
Yeah, I did land on journalism. I just think he's so talented. And like what Roberto was saying, is kind of the standout as the boss in the field. And I mean, those are herd animals, and herd dynamic really comes out to play in the Kentucky Derby. So I did land on him. I won't be playing him alone. I do think there's some better value ability to, when you're betting it. I know we're going to get into that later in the show on how we're actually going to bet the race. So to try to leverage him to get better value out of the race. But Sandman underneath, who I do think is going to be taking a lot of money because of Griffin Johnson. I know when you have
10 million
followers and you're telling them to go bet your horse. I know our Matt earlier said he thought there must be a lot of DC comic fans out there, but I'm like, no, I think it's more of a Griffin thing that's going to affect the price on there. So we might get lower odds than expected on him. But Luxor Cafe, that Japanese contingent, who looks really strong, has won last 4 races in a row. 2 of them by 5 lengths. And then I have Burnham Square on the screen. I really do like Baeza. Like Baeza gets in the field, I would probably put him up in that spot. But Burnham Square is another good long shot. And Gino, I'll throw it to you because I like Grande as well.
Yeah, Grande's a horse who I'm going to put on top based on value. I think he's going to be in that 15, 20 to 1 range. Journalism, we all have. And then Sovereignty, I think, is a real solid horse. I'll throw Rodriguez in the mix. All of you want to head to shop.drf.com because you can get all of the data that you need. You can see how some experts will bet on the races, clocker reports from the experts who are there watching them in the mornings. Shop.drf.com. Good luck, Roberto, in the Derby. Hope you have a big score. We'll talk to you again real soon. Don't go anywhere, folks.
Cosmo was supposed to fight Ciaran Clark, but he had to pull off injury. You get the call. You get to go in there. What was it like for you when you got that call, jumping in there and be part of this bantamweight tournament on short notice.
Terrifying, man. 2 weeks notice against a stud, but I've been preparing for my whole life for it, and I couldn't say no to the opportunity, and saw what happened. I came in there and kind of shocked the world. Not kind of, I did.
Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames, you did Dr. J Dames.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
What?
We got the picks in. Now we've gone through the field. Now, Alexa, everybody wants to know, how is Alexa betting the Kentucky Derby? We're going to give you $100. Let's see. I've done a PayPal and I've done a Venmo. We're going to cash app you the 100, I guess. I'm thinking of all
where's my money, Gino?
different ways we can send it on over to you. So you've got $100 now. Here's the field for the Kentucky Derby. How do you think you want to play this thing where you can, take advantage of your opinion and make some money? Talk us through your bets.
Yeah, so I went with the exotics with my $100 because I do like probably some of the lower odds horses. And for that reason, I wanted to leverage it. But you know what? The Derby, if you're correct, odds really aren't as big of a deal in the Derby because there's nobody.
They're all going to be good payouts.
They're all going to be good payouts. Everything's a good payout. It's just a race you want to be right in. So, my main plays, I really like my trifecta, but we'll start with the exacta, which is the first two order of finish. And I have the 8 and 17, which is Journalism and Sandman on top.
So
and
one of those horses has to win, and then she can move to the second spot as long as 8 or 17 wins. And it doesn't matter what happens with the other horse. Just one of those two finish first, and then you move to spot number 2.
Yeah, and then one of these 5 horses has to get second place. So I've got Luxor Cafe, the Japanese horse, the 7, and then Journalism, I have the 9 Burnham Square, I have the 10 Grande, and then the 17 Sandman. So that's my exacta. I think it should pay pretty decently. I mean, even if it came chalky with the 8 and the 17, it would still probably pay 20 to 1 or more. So should be good. Then I was like, I'm really scared of Grande. I think Grande is the best 20 to 1 or more shot with a chance to actually win the race. So I have a little bit of a saver backup ticket with Grande on top for a $3 exacta, Grande over the 7, 8, 9, and 17. And then where I think I can really rake it in is if I hit this trifecta, which I know the numbers get tiny there. I've included a lot of horses in second and third, but again, trifecta is the first 3 order of finish. I'm sticking with Journalism and Sandman in the first position, either one of them. And then in the second position, same as my exacta with Luxor Cafe, Burnham Square, Grande, Sandman, and Journalism. And then in the third position, I've spread quite a bit. I have a bunch in there, including Baeza, if he draws in, the alternate entry that I really like. I've got Sovereignty in there. So if that comes in, because the payouts are typically multiplicative of the odds of the horses. So if you get a 20 to 1 in there, all of a sudden you're making a lot of money.
I mean, if it came for you something like Sandman in the first spot and then Grande in the second spot, and then one of the really big price like Tistastic, I think you have right in the third spot, that would be a massive trifecta score. So that's the $100 bankroll for Alexa. She has
I think last year's trifecta paid, was it 1,000 to 1?
Yeah.
Let me check. Yeah, 1,100 for $1. And
So
they had low price horses
there
in
were
there.
shorter prices last year. It
Yeah,
was some
I
of the
mean,
more logical horses.
Mystic Dan was long and won, but
But
I mean,
Sierra
Sierra
Leone and
Leone,
Forever Young were two of the really logical horses who finished right behind them. So that's how Alexa is going to be betting her $100 on the Kentucky Derby. Let's take a look at how I'm going to put my $100 into the window. So I'm going to make a win wager on Grande. I just think because he's such a good price, I want to make sure that if Grande wins, I'm going to get something out of it. So for the $28 I put to win on him, it's because my other bet was 72. Normally, I'm like a $20 kind of better. Like 20 is usually one of the win wagers, like the amount of money I'll bet, especially when it's a horse like this. Like $20 to win on a horse that's 5 to 1, that's $100 right back. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you have Grande in the 20 to 1 range and we've got $28 to win on him, I think he could offer us really nice value. What I do want to also include in my wagers, Alexa, is the chance that if journalism wins, I can still win and I can have some of the other fun prices that I like underneath. You and I have a lot of similarities where we can hit the trifectas. Like we have a lot of same crossover numbers.
Can we both hit? Do we have it?
Yeah, we could both have if journalism wins, and then in the second spot, if it was Grande or Luxor Cafe, we would win. We would both have them. And then in the third spot, I threw in a lot of other horses. I threw in Coal Battle and Sandman. I threw in Final Gambit, like some of the deep closers who I think are going to be passing horses late. I also included Rodriguez in the second and the third spot because Alexa, I think of all the speed horses, I feel like he could maybe be the one that hangs around down on the inside, like if he's sitting just behind them, or maybe if he's the fastest of them. So I want at least a couple or one or two of those speed horses just in case things happen. So I will include Rodriguez in the second and the third spots. And remember, just like with Alexa's, I need the 8 or the 10 to finish first. And then you can move to the second spot in the second row of horses. Then you just need one of those horses to finish second, and you can move to the third row of horses. There's a chance this trifecta, if it were to come back with Grande winning, and then maybe in the second spot, Rodriguez or Luxor Cafe finishing second, and then in the third spot, if we got a horse like Final Gambit to get in the mix, or Coal Battle, I mean, that's not even being silly. That's where you're talking about $20,000-$30,000, Alexa, for a bet just like this for $70.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Gino and I both had 2 horses in the first position. You can play as many horses as you want in all the positions. It's just the more you add, the more expensive your ticket becomes. So you try to usually kind of have a stronger opinion on top. And then I call it like a Christmas tree bet, right? Like your stronger opinions, and then you spread and spread, because those, I think third place is often harder to pick than first place in a race because, you know, there's so much contention there. But yeah, trifectas are really a fun bet and a good way to make money.
And even if you're someone who doesn't necessarily play these types of wagers all the time, the Derby is the time to do it, because it's like you're putting a little lottery ticket in, honestly. And you just want to make sure that if that's the race that you're correct about your opinion, it could be a life-changing score for you. So $100 for me, I'll play a trifecta and a win wager. Alexa has a couple different exactas and a trifecta. But the important part, how are you going to bet your $100 or however much your bankroll is coming up on Saturday, Kentucky Derby Day? Don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to take a quick break. When we return from this break, we'll get Matt DeSantis on, and we'll see how Matt DeSantis is going to bet the Kentucky Derby with $100. Don't go anywhere.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They've won 7 in a row. They've been dominant at Citi Field. Lindor's been insane. Pete Alonso's been raking.
Griffin Canning, David Peterson, those guys have pitched really, really well. And when you put it together with that lineup, especially like you said, Lindor's been great. They've got the makings of something very special in Queens.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Okay, Matt, when we had you on before, we didn't really get a chance to get your top picks for the Derby. So let's get your top selections. How do you have them stacked? And then we'll get into wagers, how you're going to bet the Kentucky Derby. Who's the top pick this year?
Hey, maybe they're going to accuse me of being a homer up here in New York, but I'm going to go with Grande, who was the runner-up in the Wood Memorial. This is a horse for trainer Todd Pletcher. It's interesting. Pletcher and owner Mike Rapoli have come in with the favorite or the presumptive favorite the last 2 years with Fierceness and Forte, but had nothing but heartache. Now they come in with a long shot in Grande, but this is a son of Curlin. Tons of pedigree to suggest he's going to like the 1.25 miles. I think he's super versatile. He showed that he can have a plan B coming from further off the pace last time out in the Wood. And I think he's just ascending at the right time. He can take another step forward in terms of those buyer speed figures. And I think he's right there. He's going to sit the trip behind some of that early pace and then make his move, maybe a little similar to the way Mystic Dan won this race last year.
Okay, Matt, I'm Venmoing you $100 right now. So just check your phone. It's in there. We want to know, how are you going to bet the Kentucky Derby this year with that $100 that I just sent on over to you? Give us some of the ways you're going to play it.
Absolutely. And listen, I'm going to, of course, put $50 to win on Grande as my top pick. But listen, I'm not foolish. Journalism is a monster of a horse, and your presumptive post-time favorite, although there's a lot of Metallica fans out there, apparently, when you look at the advanced wagering, because Enter Sandman is taking a lot of money. So listen, I'm playing Grande and Journalism up top in my trifecta. So when we play out these vertical wagers, in the number 1 position, I have both Grande and Journalism. Then in the second position, Journalism, Grande obviously continued, but I add 2 other horses. Burnham Square, a horse that I really was impressed by when I was on site last week at Churchill Downs. He's been working so well, winner of the Bluegrass. And then, of course, Sovereignty, super classy horse who has long been pegged as a major Kentucky Derby player since he won the Street Sense at Churchill Downs last year. Then in my third position, I throw in a couple of other big prices. I agree with you that Rodriguez is the most likely of the speed horses to hold on for maybe a piece. And so he's kind of in that third position. And then you look at some horses like Tiztastic and Chunk of Gold and Coal Battle, all horses that I really like who should sit the right sort of trip, kind of sitting just off the pace in terms of Coal Battle and Chunk of Gold. Tiztastic a little bit more of a deep closer, but certainly very talented. Then when you go with the Exacta, same sort of ticket structure, basically. Journalism Grande up top, including a few other prices underneath all the horses that I already mentioned. And then I got to give a shout out to my dad, because when I went to the track, he taught me how to play horses, and he got me playing $2 show bets when I was 10 years old. And so for my dad, I got to put $2 on Chunk of Gold to show, because that's the sort of bet my dad would have made at Penn National back in 1990 when he took me to the track for the first time.
Matt, what's so great about that is I think we all have the stories with mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, someone who kind of took us to the track and who took us under their wing and started to teach us the races. And so you've got that sentimental wager there for Pops. But what I like about what you did is you've got a way where you could make a ton of money off that $100.
Yeah.
Like if that trifecta hit in the correct way, we were showing some of the payouts earlier for like pick fives and pick sixes and explaining that if you get the right connection on Kentucky Derby Day in the Derby race or in the races leading up to the Derby, it's one of the biggest days of the entire year in horse racing wagering. You could literally have a life changer. Like for example, let's say your trifecta came back with Grande, and then in the second spot, you had a horse like Burnham Square in the second spot. And then in the third spot, you had a horse like a Rodriguez or a Cole Battle or someone like that, Chunk of Gold. You could have a really big payout on that trifecta.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the key with layering these exactas trifectas when you're doing these sort of vertical wagers is taking a stab, taking a shot so that you have an opportunity for a huge payoff, but also keeping yourself a little protected. Like I said, I'm going to include journalism, and I'm going to include a horse like Sovereignty, who's going to probably be a little bit of a shorter price. My big stance is I'm against Sandman. I just think that horse needs to learn how to run in a straight line, and until I see him do that, I'm not going to bet him in the Kentucky Derby. But obviously that Arkansas Derby was very impressive. But, you know, it's one of those things where, let's say even journalism wins, but if you still have Burnham Square or Grande finish underneath, Chunk of Gold finish underneath, you're still going to get a really handsome payout. So even with a favorite winning, you can still get paid out really well in these exactas trifectas on Derby Day.
Matt, before we let you go, we have about 30 seconds or so. Give us a plug. Tell us where we can find some of your great work and anything you want to mention before the Derby.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find all my content on Twitter at my handle @FailedToMenace, but you can also find all of my stuff up on Naira Bets at the Naira Bets app. We have written analysis for the Derby and Oaks. We got a lot of fun tidbits to share with people that they can look at and play into on Derby Day, some good betting angles. And then we have the my Naira Bets YouTube channel as well, where we have race previews, full card analyses, handicapping and betting tutorials, tons of contender spotlights. So we got you covered, and a lot of great stuff and a lot of great promos. And we'll have a 24-hour live stream from Derby, from Oaks Day to Derby Day.
Rest those pipes. Mucinex throat lozengers are going to be your friend over the next couple days, Maddie. Good luck, and don't go anywhere, folks. When we return, we'll move to the next segment. We'll talk more about betting the Derby.
Vegas knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Second game of doubleheader. We don't know exactly who's going to be in the lineup, and maybe you get an extended game number one, which means tired bullpens and closers used up, which aren't available for game number two, and maybe finding some extra shots here. But I do think the pitching matchup more susceptible, Tom, to runs here.
This is part of what we look at. Like I said, I don't expect both teams to win. So we have a pitcher who may not be sustainable at 28.6, but he's playing well right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Time to talk about the ladies now. We'll go back in time, really, because we were talking about the Derby before. But now it's time to talk about the Kentucky Oaks. This is on Friday, and this is the premier race for the 3-year-old fillies. Same sort of thing that happens in the Kentucky Derby, Alexa. They have to qualify for the Kentucky Oaks. They have to pick up some Kentucky Oaks points along the way, and they come from all different areas of the United States to line up in the starting gate. On Friday, we have a field of 14. We can pull up the field and let's take a look at this group horse by horse, starting with the number 1 early on. This is a horse who comes off of a runner-up effort last time out, was behind Ballerina d'Oro, but she is a horse who's improving at the right time. She gets the inside draw, so she'll be able to save ground. And while she's not as accomplished as a lot of the others, she's trained by a fantastic trainer who's one of the absolute best in Florida.
Yeah, absolutely right. And, she's been knocking on the door for a win with that second runner-up effort you said in the Virginia Oaks, and then a painful second by a nose in the Grade 3 Gazelle a month ago. Those races are both probably easier level than what she's going to be going up against today. I'm not upset about the 1-hole draw for her. I mean, if you're a horse who needs to shoot out early, you really don't want the 1-hole. But I still think that's probably too tough of a spot for her, but she does look really good. I saw some videos of her working out in the morning and on social media, and she looks really good.
Simply Joking is the number 2, and she could be upgraded in this race because as you and I are recording it now, we're hearing some rumors that there could be a horse in here that's going to be scratched. That might be 5G, and if that happens, I think it helps the horses who are fast early, and one of those horses is Simply Joking. It takes some of the speed, some of the other pace that she would have to face out of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And she is mighty, mighty quick. She will want that lead. Her loss in the fantasy was to Quiet Side, who's a common opponent in here, is going to be very tough. But, she's added distance every start and improved her speed figures every start. I think she's a major player. And it's also important to note that she has won on the slop. And it is supposed to, we're getting weather here in Kentucky, most likely, unless the racing gods smile on us and hold it off. So you do want to see a horse who can run on the wet surface.
The number 3, Fawn Lee, wants to sit close. She won the Virginia Oak. She's 2 for 2. What do you think about her?
Undefeated, but field is going to be a quality she's never faced. Motion, her trainer Graham Motion, who's a great trainer, is happy with her post position draw on the inside. She does get Irad aboard, who's a great jockey, but I'm going to take a wait and see approach with her. I just can't bet her with her buyer speed figures are in the 70s, and she's running against horses who are running in the 90s.
The next 2 horses I'm going to group together, Alexa, because they're both horses that I think are going to be closers. They're going to be coming from the back a little bit. Drexel Hill and then the number 5, Quick Kick. And they're both installed as 30-1, like some of the bigger long shots in the field. Can you make a case for either the 4 or the 5, Drexel Hill or Quick Kick?
No, I'm passing on both of them. I think Drexel Hill, like you said, this is going to be a distance test. Half of her races have been going less than a mile, and never more than a mile 70. Quick Kick had the 3rd place finish in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies in November, but hasn't won since her second start ever last September. And also just really hasn't been progressing much after that Breeders' Cup performance. So she's lost to 4 common opponents in here already. So I'm going to pass on both of those.
The number 6, Ballerina d'Oro, has a lot of little things I like, Alexa. Her running style, she's going to drop back and make one late run. I think the race could set up for her really well. I think having a bigger field is actually going to be better for her. She'll make the 3rd start of her form cycle. I like a lot of the little things that are going on for her, and she's 10-1 on the morning line. What do you think about the 6?
I know you love her. I'm not against her by any means. I mean, I think there's upside. She does well at this distance. I think she'll need to step up and show us her best ever. I said more of an underneath play.
The number 7, Lacara, is probably one of the faster horses in this field. In fact, her trainer, Mark Cassie, who also trains Sandman in the Kentucky Derby, he said that Lacara will be on the lead. He said if anybody else wants to kind of come in and try to get the lead, they're going to have to earn it because we are going to the front end. So we expect to see her towards the front in here. And she ran a really good race when she won the Ashland.
Yeah, it's interesting he said that because while she's won on the lead, we've also seen her come from behind. In the Pocahontas, she closed from 11th place to first. So, I like that they're sending her, but it also seems like she can handle different pace scenarios and whatever comes her way. So, really talented filly, drew a lucky post position with post 7. It's not too far out, it's not too inside. We're going to get pinned on the rail. So, one to not ignore.
We don't have to talk about 5G because we did get a report from David Grenning just earlier this morning that 5G will be scratched from this race. So just coming through right now, the 8 5G will not be running in the Kentucky Oaks this weekend. Let's move to the 9 Tenma. She comes from out west. That's the Bob Baffert trained Tenma, but she hasn't been facing big fields. In fact, in her most recent race, she beat a field of 5, and then in her race 2 starts back, she only beat 2 other rivals, Alexa. So what do we do with her?
Right. She's a 4 times graded stakes winner, but look at those races. What exactly does that mean? But very talented. And I think if we see her best performance ever, which is probably in the Las Virgenes, how you say that race?
Yep.
The grade 3, she won by 6.5 lengths with a 92 buyer, really fast. So I think maybe if she repeats her best ever, she could be a real deal contender in here. She is in for Bob Baffert, who's back.
Number 10, Take Charge My Lady, is trained by the trainer who won last year's Kentucky Oaks and is ridden by the rider who won last year's Kentucky Oaks. It's Ken McPeak and Brian Hernandez Jr. that team up, and I think she fits pretty well, but one of the concerns that we've heard about her recently, Alexa, is that in the mornings she's had some small issues along the way, what they call a quarter crack. But if she's running, I'm expecting that she's ready and she's going to be fine. If she's running on Friday, she could get a pretty good trip in here. What do you think about Take Charge My Lady?
Yeah, she's a contender in here. Her workouts have her really tuned up and ready. Coming into the Oaks, she looks like she's peaking. I do also like that she's won in the mud before, considering the forecast. So I think there's upside. I'm not using her in my top selections, but I am not going to tell anybody to get off her either if you like her.
Good Cheer is the horse to beat. She's undefeated, the 11. She's 6 for 6. And while her ratings and her figures aren't way better than the rest of this group, you were pointing out, Alexa, that we haven't even really seen her challenged. Like, all of her wins have been easy wins.
Yeah, okay, so yes, her speed figures are comparable to others in here, but the closest anyone's gotten to her is Quiet Side, who was 2.5 lengths behind her. Her other wins have been like 6, 8, 17 lengths ahead of the competition. She's never not been the favorite. That's not going to change this weekend. She's so consistent. She's also won at Churchill 3 times over this course. So I think I understand the low odds on her. I will try to beat her with a longer horse, but I'm prepared to lose because she's very, very talented.
Anna's Promise feels kind of like a long shot. She's 30-1 on the morning line. I think she'll be part of the early speed in here. I just don't know if she's good enough to be around late.
Yeah, she's also 0 for 3 at Churchill, 2 second places. Consistently improving, but it's going to be a tough place.
Bless the Broken just won a race at Turfway on a synthetic surface. She moves back to the dirt. She's just going to have to improve on horses like Good Cheer and Simply Joking, who have been in front of her last time she faced them.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. I think it's a tall ask for her in this field.
Then rounding out the field is Quiet Side, who's been in excellent form right now. She's won back-to-back graded stakes races. Talk to us about the 14.
Yeah, Quiet Side is my top selection in here. So she's never been off the board. I don't expect that to change this weekend. Very consistent filly. Like you said, had back-to-back graded stakes wins in the grade 3 Honeybee and the grade 2 Fantasy, both at Oakline. She's shown us she can handle the mud as well in the Spinaway last August. She's, like I mentioned earlier, the only horse that's really gotten close to Good Cheer in prior races. So I think she has the best chance of beating her this weekend. And we have morning line odds of 8-1 or plus 800. So pretty decent price.
Well, as we get set for our next commercial break.
I've got a guest here.
Oh, you got a guest joining you, a little furry friend over there that wanted to say hello. Well, we also want to remind you about the jackets, those styling jackets that you are wearing right there, Alexa. Tell us a little bit about those as we go to a commercial break.
Yeah, these are J Coffee jackets. They're really cool. I'm trying to show you. She sews vintage racing scarves into them, into the wrists here, the collar, and also the panel in the back. So they're really unique. They're awesome for, your wife, your girlfriend, you, Derby fan, Mother's Day. It's a great time to load up.
that there's something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers could be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
It's so crazy that you get both ends of that spectrum in the narrative trying to be correct in doing so and to make a statement for engagement. You're wrong, you've been wrong, and deal with the reality of the situation.
All of the people that analyzed the draft mocked one in the first round, and even could he go to the Giants at number 3 or trade up back in that round. They got Gart, they didn't get Sanders, and the fall was on at that point.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to get a bunch of upsets. We're going to get a lot of craziness. Didn't happen as well. I mean, over the last calendar year, Sam, I don't ever recall 6 or 8 months of time in sports where the books lost, but here we are.
They estimate FanDuel and DraftKings lost $185 million combined for March Madness. So estimating not just that they didn't have a profitable March Madness, but it was a huge loss for them as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Okay, now handicapping races is really important. You want to do all the research, you want to get prepared. But Darren, equally as important is knowing how to structure your wagers. How are we going to take that information, all the research, and implement it and find a way to try to win some money? So we're going to give Darren $100. Send it over to you, Darren. Just check your PayPal. It should be there. You're good to go. And then we're going to see how Darren would bet the Kentucky Oaks using that $100. So let's take a look at the field for the Kentucky Oaks this year. Good Cheer, DZ, is installed as the morning line favorite, and she has done absolutely nothing wrong. But based on her ratings and speed figures, she doesn't really overwhelm the field. I completely respect everything that she's done, but she hasn't run so much faster than the rest of the group that she kind of feels like she should be so much shorter of a price than the rest.
Yeah, and I've been a huge fan of hers. We actually owned a filly that ran in her debut against her at Horseshoe Indy, so I got first look at to see how talented she was. And then she just kind of kept going from there. She's never lost a race. She wins professionally. And she seems like a filly who just does what she has to do in these races, right? Like, she's not dismantling these fields, but she's not the fastest out of the gate. And like you said, her speed figures, maybe they're marginally better than the majority of the field, but like you said, for such a short price favorite, she doesn't stand out. And as much as I am a fan of hers, and as much as I think that she is a very imposing filly, from a handicapping standpoint, that looks like an opportunity to try to beat a short price favorite.
You're hoping it's going to be the same trainer, the same jockey, back-to-back years winning the Kentucky Oaks. You like the 10, take charge, my lady, a little bit. Talk to us about the 10.
Yeah, I honestly, I was going to pick Quiet Side until she drew the 14 hole. And the way that the race shaped up, I think that's going to be a bit of an issue. And the issue that I have with Take Charge Milady is that she's been dealing with a foot abscess for the last week. Now, you know,
and they say, just to it kind of is comparable to like a hangnail,
yeah,
right? From what they say for like if it was a human.
Yeah, it is. But she hasn't had a published workout since April 18th. So even though she's back on the track and training, I do have, that does give me some pause. And I'm hoping that the price alleviates some of that concern. Because I was very impressed with the way she finished up in the Ashland Stakes. If that race was a 16th of a mile further, which is the distance of the Kentucky Oaks, I think she catches Lacara. And obviously, Kenny McPeak knows how to get a filly right this time of year as well. She's developing nicely. Her sheep figures are moving in the right direction. Her buyer figures are moving in the right direction. The race a couple of starts back is a complete toss-out. Just draw a line through that because she was wiped out at the start. And if you do that, her form certainly looks much better. So if she's over the foot issue, and it's not going to play a factor on Friday, I think she has a big shot at what probably is going to be a double-digit odds.
Let's get Darren's bets up on the screen, and we can look at that fantastic avatar they've created for you too. That's great. I love that guy too. He looks just like you, DZ. So with the $100, you'll put 40 of it to win on Take Charge, My Lady, but you'll also put her in the top spot in an exacta, hoping that you could really capitalize, because that's the key, right? You want to make sure that if she wins and you're right, you have a nice score here.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, I'm glad you used the avatar because I've never taken a picture that good in my life. Yeah. I look for a win bet at a double-digit price. I think it certainly does make a lot of sense. If she's going to be 10, 11, 12 to 1, you have to bet her to win, because you don't want to just build the horizontal and vertical exotics around her and find yourself licking wounds at the end of the day because you missed a leg in a pick 4, or you missed the trifecta or the exacta because you got beat for second and third, even though your strongest opinion won. There's nothing wrong with a very simple win bet. And when you're going to get a value on a horse, I think you definitely have to pay attention to that and make use of the simple win bet. And the exact is also a simple wager. And look, you could probably figure it out that by my wagers, I think there's going to be a lively pace setup, although I did send this ticket in before 5G was scratched, which did take some of the speed out of the race, which might change some of the pace dynamics. Still think there is a good bit of speed in here. I think horses like Quick Kick are going to have a shot from off the pace to get a piece of it at a price. I still do like Quiet Side a lot. I think she's an extremely talented filly. She's cycling forward. I loved how professional she was in her last 2 starts, and it really just kind of comes down to the trip with her. Can she navigate post 14 and stay close enough? And Ballerino d'Oro, I think, is really fascinating because her last 2 starts, I haven't loved them. But I think because of the pace in those races and the short fields, she was closer to the early speed than she typically wants to be. And I think she probably didn't finish as well as she normally does because of that. And I think in the Kentucky Oaks, she's going to be relegated farther back in the field. And I think that's actually going to be favorable to her and get her to produce that big late closing kick. And you're going to get a filly who was an odds-on favorite in her prep for this at a much better price. So I'm going to definitely be inclined to use her as well. And that exacta key box, if you don't know what that means that the 10 horse Take Charge My Lady can run first or second, and either of the 3 horses I have with her can either also run first or second.
So if we get Take Charge My Lady in that first or second spot, we need one of the others to help complete that exacta there. DZ, when we make these wagers, we're going to be making them over at Twin Spires. In our earlier segment, you told us about some of the wagering promotions. Yeah. There's all sorts of incredible tournaments. And wow, how crazy is it to see how big the wagering menu is nowadays compared to years back when it was very simple, right? Win, play, show, exacta. Now there are doubles from Friday to Saturday. There are different races from earlier on the card on Saturday. You can really find different races or different wagers to really key in on your opinion and hope that if your opinion is right, you can make a ton of money.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the good thing about Derby weekend is you'd only have to be right once, maybe twice, and you can get paid if you put it together correctly. There's pick 4s and pick 5s all over the place. And there's value to be found in just about every single race. The Saturday card is unbelievable. There's going to be some monster payouts on that day as well. And the Friday card is excellent as well. But yes, to that point, it takes a lot of time to handicap now because it's not just doubles, pick 3s, and win exacta try. You've got to plan 5 races in a row and figure out your tickets. And it takes a lot of time, Gino.
Darren, it's been such a blast being friends with you through the years and seeing all the different places in racing that you've worked. And I am a lucky man to be sitting in the middle of Darren and Alexa. And I hope one day I'm talking to the both of you as owners of a horse that's going to be running in the Kentucky Derby, because both of you have gotten involved with ownership there. And DZ, again, can't thank you enough for the time. We're going to be checking out Twin Spires. It's so great to see some of those Twin Spires ads up on the Daily Racing Forum website. That was something people thought maybe never was going to happen.
Hell, but frozen over.
Right? We're all friends now, and worlds collide. So best of luck to you, Darren, all weekend long. Thanks so much for your time hanging out with us. And folks, don't go anywhere. Still plenty more to talk. Oaks and Derby. Stay tuned.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames. You did Dr. J Dames.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Final segment here. We're going to give you some best bets a little earlier on the days, on Friday and then on Saturday. First up, let's go to Kentucky Oaks Friday, Alexa. You've got a best bet. I think you have a pick three wager that you have throughout the card, right? Why don't you talk us through your best wager on Friday before the Oaks?
I do. So I have a pick three, which is 3 winners in a row. This ends with the Oaks. So it starts in race 9, which is the grade 2 8 bells going 7 furlongs on the dirt. And I used 2 horses in here. The 8 Blue Fire at 12-1. She's so speedy. She's won 4 out of 6 races, all by wiring the field. The one recent race she lost was by a head. She's run against Louisiana State bred competition mostly. So this will be a class challenge, but she just has the raw talent. I think 12-1's really generous odds on her. I'll use the 10 as well. Impulse Buy at 3.5-1 or plus 350, because one, I relate with the name.
Sure.
But also this horse is coming off of a win, as well as a layoff, 5 months off the bench, but has been working back into shape consistently for a month and a half. She's never done worse than second, and is the opposite of Blue Fire, as she can come from off the pace and close. So we have seen some speed from her as well, though, at times. So really tactical horse. So that's the first leg. The second leg is race 10, which is the grade 3 unbridled Sydney Stakes for fillies, 3-year-olds, going 5.5 on the turf. So it's a short, quick, speedy race on the turf. I use 3 in here, starting with the number 4, AG Bullet, who is going to be probably around plus 200, maybe a little less. So the favorite in here, who lost the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint in November by a neck. She hasn't run since December, but she's come off multiple layoffs before and won every time. So she's 6 for 12 in her lifetime starts, 1.3 million in earnings. She's a very, very valid favorite. But there's a couple others in here that are also valid, in my opinion, at longer prices. The 5 and the 8. So the 5 is Opponent's Hope at plus 600, who's stretching out half a furlong.
She can fly.
Yeah, she can fly. Her typical distance is 5 furlongs, so stretching out a little bit, but so consistent down in Miami at Gulfstream. She's run 12 times, won 6 of them, hit the board in 10 of them. She's won her last 3 races, each time with improving speed figures. This is her first time out of Florida, probably the toughest field she'll ever be facing. But if she runs her race and just goes to the front and never looks back, she can definitely win it. And then the 8, Esternia, is a very long shot in here, 20-1 odds. Interesting placement for this horse. Hasn't run on the grass in a year and a half, but it's been very successful on the dirt. And her first win ever, though, was on the grass. So we know she has some ability there. The guy who takes care of my young horses here in Kentucky, actually, Joe Mulholland, is the one who bred her. That's not why I picked the horse, but I noticed that after I made the selection. So rooting for that from a fan standpoint. But coming off of a layoff, has done well off the layoffs before, done well over wet tracks. So if we get the rain like we expect, she's versatility. And then ending in the Oaks, where I'm using Simply Joking the 2, Good Cheer the 11, and Quiet Side 14, who I won't really go over because we've talked about them a lot already on this stream.
So pick 3 that leads you right into the Kentucky Oaks for Alexa. That's going to be on Friday for myself.
It's $18. It's a cheap play. It's $18.
Only $18.
Yeah.
That's great. So for myself, I've got a couple that are in the undercard races on Saturday. First up in race number 6 on Saturday, it's the Pat Day Mile. I always love this race, Alexa, because it's the race for horses that didn't quite make it into the Kentucky Derby. They're still really good. Maybe they can't go as far as the Derby distance, but they're really nice horses. And one of those horses that I've been waiting for to cut back in distance is Built. If you look at Built, the races that he's been running in recently, he was trying to get qualified for the Kentucky Derby. He ran in the Risen Star and then in the Louisiana Derby. In both of those races, he starts looming up. He looks ominous. And then once they hit about like the mile spot, he kind of hits a wall and he just gets tired. And it's the same thing. He looms up and you could just see he doesn't want to go that far. I think cutting back in distance now to the mile should be perfect for Built. So I'm going to make a win wager on him. He's 7-2 on the morning line. I think that's a very fair price. I didn't put a specific amount. So whatever amount you want to use is fine, but he'll be a win wager for me, Built, in race number 6. And then a little later on in the Saturday card, I have another best bet for you. That's going to be Saturday, May 3rd, 10th race. This is the Filly and Mare Sprint race. This one is the Derby City Distaff. I like the 9 Emery. I've been following her, Alexa, for a while. She's going to make the 3rd start since her layoff. And in her first 2 starts, I think she's had to kind of work a little bit too hard throughout the race. She was the horse who had to kind of put pressure on the speed horses. I just think she's going to get a way different trip. I think they're going to sit back with her. She's going to sit like 4th or 5th in a big field. She'll be able to have some speed to chase. So I think Emery, very interesting. She's 6-1 on the morning line. So a couple best bets for me on Saturday, a few from Alexa on Friday. But don't forget, you're going to see a lot of us in the next coming days here on SportsGrid, and you'll see us each and every week with the weekend preview on SportsGrid. Make sure to head to shop.drf.com for all of the tools you need when you're handicapping and playing the Kentucky Derby. See
Here's a tip. Let's say you bet big on a 4-game moneyline parlay. Your first 3 bets have hit, but you're a little nervous about the last game. Consider placing a separate bet against the team you have winning in your parlay. You're technically a winner either way. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Pages. Let's get lucky.
We're going to get a bunch of upsets. We're going to get a lot of craziness. Didn't happen as well. I mean, over the last calendar year, Sam, I don't ever recall 6 or 8 months of time in sports where the books lost, but here we are.
They estimate FanDuel and DraftKings lost $185 million combined for March Madness. So estimating not just that they didn't have a profitable March Madness, but it was a huge loss for them as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Pharrell has taken over. Let's go. It's Pharrell. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Pharrell. Coast to coast.